Okay, I'm going to use P and K. So use P and K for puppies and kittens.
9 plus P plus K equals 23.
Okay, you're going to the third equation directly because you're so used to first semester's material.
Yeah.
Just separate it. Look what it says. They sold 9 more puppies than kittens. Just simplify. Just translate that into an equation using 2 variables. You don't have to just use one variable. So that you said that they sold 9 more puppies than kittens, right? So they sold more puppies. So how many puppies did they sell? P is equal to?
X K plus 9.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? Then, because you're so used to doing, the first semester method where you only use one variable. Now, using this, we could get the third equation, which is what you just told me, right? What is the equation that we're going to get, Getty? Now, we're going to place P in place of, K plus 9 in place of P, so you get the third equation. What's my third equation? Where you only have one variable.
K plus 9 plus
Yeah, you're right. K plus 9, that's P.
plus 9 plus P equals 23.
No, K plus 9 is how many puppies we have, right?
Yeah, K plus 9 plus K equals 23.
That's right. Do you understand what we're doing?
Yeah.
You're going straight to the third equation without doing these 2 equations, okay? Now look at my third equation. How many variables do I have in third equation? I have only 1, right? Well, okay, 2K. There are 2 variables, but then how many? We have only 1K. We're using only 1 variable. That's what I mean by 1 variable. Yeah.
Why didn't we learn how to use 2 variables first?
Good question. Why did we start off with doing this? Because isn't this a lot more easy? It's easier. The reason is because we didn't want to start off using 2 variables because we had to then tell you about equations with 2 variables to kind of think about what that means. And also, you would have to learn, we have to start off with substitution method then in the very beginning. So we didn't want to do that. That's why we showed you how to do it.
But that makes everything easier.
Now it's easy because we know all these other ones. You know what I mean? We know substitution method. We know what it means to have 2 variables in an equation. But before, we couldn't just start doing it without explaining all that stuff. We could have, but then you wouldn't really understand what they really mean. You know what I mean? So that's why. Okay, so who knows what we get here? What's K? Okay, 1 person. Anita, what'd you get? 7. What'd you get, Peko? Oh, you all got 7?
Yeah.
So I got 2K plus 9 equals 23. Subtract 9 and then divide it by 2, you get 7. Very good. So that means what? How many kittens were sold?
7 and 16
Now,
puppies.
yeah, right. How do you know that there were
Because 7 plus 9.
7 plus 9 is 16? It's exactly right. So you could use any of those 2 equations. Use the easier one, right? Any question? Pretty straightforward, right? So these word problems, right, are getting easier because we get to use the substitution method and we get to use 2 variables. Does that make sense? All right, should we try the third one now?
Yeah.
All right, wait, okay. Well, as we wait, go ahead and write this down for the rest. Go ahead. I'll wait for you. Sasha, what are the 2 unknowns that are in this?
The number of $5 bills and the number of $10.
Good. So how do you think you're going to declare your variable as? Let?
Let x equal the number of $5 bills.
Okay. And let. Sure. I used F and T. Is that okay? Actually, let me erase that for now. So I used F for number of $5 bills. Now, do you think it's important to put the number of $5 bills and number of? Yeah, because if I just write $5 bills, you don't know what color of the $5. What are you talking about, right? So you have to know. So then that's what. Those are the 2 unknowns we have. Now we need to come up with how many then equations? Well, yeah, at the end we're gonna have 3, but initially we have to have, if you have 2 variables, you have to have 2 variables. 2 equations. Then using those 2 equations, we get the third equation. So I see what you mean by 3. Okay. All right. So what's then my first equation? That is the most obvious one that people always mess up for some reason. Jennifer? That's correct. It says that when you add them together, whoops, I think I have the answer. When you add them together, it should equal to 112 bills, right? So if you add number of $5 bills plus number of $10 bills, we have 112. Danielle, did you have a question? Oh, okay. Do you know the second equation? Good. Danielle, then can you tell me the second equation?
Should I use F and T?
Yes, because we're using 2 variables. Now you're free to use 2 variables.
5F plus T and t equals 720.
That's exactly right. When you multiply now, because if you have five, like f of $5 bills, how much does it really? How much do I have? Each of these bills are $5, so you multiply that by 5. And each of the $10 bills, of course, are, how much are each of the $10 bills? $10, so you multiply 10 times how many of them I have. And of course, when you add them together, I get $720. Do you see the difference between number of the bills versus actual amount of dollars we have? Okay, don't get those two things confused. Yeah, question?
Could we simplify the right side of the equation? 5 by 5?
Oh, it's a very good question. So Getty says, I always told you if you could simplify, always simplify. And look at the second equation. If I wanted to, could we divide both sides by 5 after this? Yes, you could. That's totally fine.
So we're allowed
Okay.
to do that?
Yeah, you're allowed to do that because the equation, remember, you could always multiply both sides by the same number or divide both sides by the same number if you like. You could add and subtract, but when you're simplifying, you usually divide or multiply both sides by the same number. So Getty noticed that there is a GCF of 5, in other words, right? If you have a GCF of 5, you could divide both sides by 5, can't you? I don't think I did that, but you could have done that. I think it would get a little bit easier. Very good. Now, so what I did though was solve for one of the variables. Do you think it's best to solve for one of the variables using the first equation or the second one? Or to solve for one of the variables, first one, right? You got f plus t equals 12, right? So I think I solved for t. Is that okay? Oops. So t is equal to 112 minus f. That's obvious, right? Because they're total of. Remember, this is what we did in our head last time during first semester. Isn't this what we did before? Let f be the number of $5 bills. Then there are 112 minus f is the number of $10 bills. But we're kind of doing them separately now. Who could then tell me the third equation? We just have to now plug into the. Get it? What do I write?
Okay, I simplified it. So
Oh yeah, you simplified it, didn't you? That's good. I don't think I did. So let's just do it as if I didn't. But you get the same answer as me. Yeah, so that's what Getty is saying.
So after we do the
Yeah, if you noticed that, then you could have done that. So first of all, though, let me just plug it in. Is that okay? So in place of t, I'm going to plug in. So don't I just get 5f, right? So since my t was 112 minus f, there, I just substituted in there, right? Does that make sense? And Getty's right. You could just divide both sides by 10, and I don't think I did it. I think I just solved it. Go ahead, everybody, try. You could have divided both sides by 5 first to make it easy. We should all get the same answer. Go ahead, everybody try. So did you all then? So guys, unlike Getty, I didn't realize that I could divide both sides by 5, so I just did it. Okay, so when I solve, first I got 5f, right? When I distribute 10, I get 5f plus 1120 minus 10f equals 720. Gather the f's together, I got negative 5f plus 1120 equals 720. Then what? Subtract both sides by 1120. Then I get negative 5f equals negative 400. How many people got f equals 80? Good. Now if you didn't, ask me a question. Do you guys see how I got f equals 80? Okay. And so what does this mean? That I have how many $5 bills? 80. How can I find then the $10 bills? You used one of the original equation. Do you think I should use the first one or the second one? First one is a lot easier. Plug it in. Amber, what'd you get?
42 to
Yeah, so when you plug in 80 there in place of f, subtract 80 from both sides, you get 32. Oh, 32, yeah. So I wrote this as a sentence. Now look, I'm checking. Is it enough to just check for the first equation? No, you gotta check both because we're solving systems here.
we have to check it on my homework.
If you have time, yeah. But like on the test, if you don't, you take it at the very end.
Can I see it? I didn't get the answer.
Oh, okay. So since we checked, they all both work. So it has to work for both of these equations. Here's the last one.